एक point ऐसा आता है जब we want to prove to somebody that, you know, the worth they think we hold is nowhere close to our actual worth. आता है ऐसा time आता है कभी? You felt that? So I have a story. There's this boy, a Punjabi boy from Delhi, belongs to a middle class family. Right about the age where puberty is just starting, you know, igniting this exploration. Don't we know about that actually? But the real exploration is about emotions at that time, right? You're all raging with so many different feelings and emotions and this and that. कुछ चीज़ों पे control नहीं है. But what happens is that it's very rare that somebody would actually sit you down and make you comfortable with whatever you're feeling. To then make you comfortable enough to understand your emotions better. बहुत कम होता है कि कभी किसी को ऐसा लगे कि वो कर सकता है. But the thing is that the world, आज की दुनिया जिसमें हम exist करते हैं, it thrives on two words: masculine and tough. So the real understanding of how the whole thing works is you skip emotions and you become friends with ignorance. To be the alpha, to be the good, to be the better. Because somehow we feel like the more sensitive we are, the weaker we are. The less, I don't know, awesome we are. Have you ever seen a kid, a young kid at an ice cream shop? उसकी शक्ल पे जो हंसी होती है या जो खुशी होती है ना, it has nothing to do with how bright or how intelligent that kid is or what is he or she going to achieve. All that matters at that point is the innocence that is making them happy. But you also realize how vain it is to be a dreamer in a world that thrives on pulling you down. Right? That your internal struggle to still keep believing in your dream takes you to a path जहाँ पर आप खुद को क्वेश्चन करने लगते हो. आप बोलते हो कि जो आप सोच रहे हो क्या वो सही है, बिकॉज सोसाइटी बताती है कि कुछ और सही है. आप डाउट करते हो अपने हर स्टेप पे बिकॉज आपको लगता है कि शायद जो और लोग हैं, द कॉमन गुड, द कॉमन राइट, शायद उस तरीके से आपको कुछ करना पड़ेगा. सो यू डोंट रियली लाइक फॉलो योर ओन इंस्टिंक्ट एंड दैट्स हाउ यू स्टॉप योरसेल्फ इंस्टेड. I've realized some of these incidents kind of leave you wanting to tell them कि मुझे मेरे नाम से जान लो, मैं हाथ ना आऊंगा, हवा बन उड़ जाऊंगा उस जहां. So I'm an artist who believes in self-expression, and that's exactly what I mean to do today. I am the boy from Delhi, and this is my story. So I struggled with a lot of bullying and a lot of mental sort of torture of sorts, because I mean, the young kids in this, just everything feels a lot more heavier. And you could see the desperation to be seen in how my grades got better at subjects where my teachers treated me better. It says a lot about good teachers, but it also says a lot about the coherent, the very subdued human nature of just belonging, just feeling seen, just existing. So I decided to leave school after class 10 and I went to a boarding school, and I gave the reason I gave my parents was that I didn't get my preferred subject, PCM. But you know, boarding schools are an experience. What happens is that because you're suddenly responsible for yourself, you have to manage everything by yourself, the confidence you gain from that is absolutely unparalleled. There's another story to this boy. He could sing. And the first time somebody realized that I could sing, it was in class 4th when I joined the choir of my school and just started singing. But the first time it got established that I could sing was this one time I participated in a music competition in my school and I stood second. My mom trained me for it. She eventually enrolled me to this one class that I went for 5 to 6 years. I did my Vishal there and then left when I joined college. So back in my boarding school, I got sort of introduced with this idea of merchant navy. It was very appealing. So I joined a merchant navy college later. College was very interesting. I was in a UK-based university that had a campus in Thailand. So I spent about 7 to 8 months there finishing my theory curriculum, and then I was on a ship. And then my ship went into repairs, and this is where life started to change. So I came back home, I was waiting for my deployment, and this is when I joined a Western music institute called Delhi School of Music. And in fact, this was my graduation from the theory curriculum. I started practicing Western popular vocals, and I made some friends, and I remember we were all big fans of Coldplay, and we would sing Coldplay songs together. And so, that kept going on, and after a point I realized I didn't really have much to do. So a friend of mine called me in Mumbai. He said, "You're chilling in Delhi. Why don't you come here, see, explore the city, see, find interesting things if you do find any." So I went there. I was like, okay, I'm spending some time with friends. And the thing with musicians and artists in general is that we are really big on jamming ideas, ideating, creating stuff together. But anyway, I made a few friends. One of them was Sanket, who I wrote a couple of songs with. And it happened to be that Sanket was performing at a small club somewhere with another friend. And I went there, and during the interval, this friend, she called me to sing the song that we wrote. And to my surprise, Sanket happened to show the song to some label who picked it, and they were very keen on releasing it. I think, call it chance, call it whatever, but what happens is that there was this one time that I met somebody and they said, there's nothing called chance, because when you look back at the chain of events that led to a certain moment, you realize that all of that was being, you know how you make a necklace, you build it beat by beat. So this happened, and then the song came out. Let's call it beginner's luck for mental sanity. So the song was out, and I was very happy about it. But it took me the next 3 years to understand what I did. So I had to figure out what songwriting was, how you made melodies, how you emoted in terms of like music and melody. How do you produce songs? What is production even? By the time I figured this out, Sanket got busy. Because of course I was slow with the whole thing. So I waited for him, and I think at some point I had to take that decision that I have to move on. But during these 3 years of like figuring out, exploration of what goes how, there were times when I wanted to quit because we're not really built with a lot of patience and persistence. It takes experience to kind of get that. And I found friends who kind of stuck by me, made me stay, made me push along. And then there were times when money was not my favorite friend. And I didn't have the heart to call my dad again and ask for more money. And there was this one point where I spent 4 days with a packet of bread and some peanut butter. But you know what? Hunger is a bigger player than anything else. So at some point I had to kind of surrender, and I did end up calling my dad, and he abused me a little for doing what I did. But then came a point where at 24 years of age, I had to decide if I was going back to Navy or not, Merchant Navy or not. To give away a stable career, to give away a life full of travel, to give away steady wealth, I think it was one of the biggest and the most difficult decisions I had ever made. And those come to you at some point or the other. I feel like this is life works in patterns, and difficult decisions come to everybody. So at some point I met this producer called Himanshu. But he had put on a cover of Coldplay's Paradise, and I'm a big Coldplay fan. I think I've said that a few times now. I showed him the song that I had written very recently called Mars. And he liked it, and he wanted to work on it, and he started producing it. And during this time, my dad opened a restaurant. Fancy. So I went back home. We were still building the team, and I thought, I will help. So I was the dishwasher in the kitchen. Skills. It requires skills. I remember I was still washing dishes when Himanshu sent me the first scratch of Mars. And sometimes what happens is, you expect something, and what you get in return is far beyond your expectation. And that was exactly what Mars sounded like. So I dropped everything, I booked my tickets, and I flew back to Mumbai. sometimes what happens is certain things have a big ripple effect. And one of the first ripples of building the song called Miles was that while we were writing the song, I don't know from where I felt like I just wanted to collaborate with Monchu on more songs. And I very frankly told him that I could not really afford him. So will he be willing to collaborate with me? And to my surprise, we didn't take a second. And he turned and he said, yes. I don't know, what did you think? So we started with what do we want to do with it? And then for the names, we had options like The Diary, Pocket Diaries. Thankfully, we called it the Yellow Diary because it had the right meaning. And then we called up Weber, this very bright guy, and he plays guitars, and he came and recorded guitars on Mars, and eventually became a part of the Yellow Diary. But Weber was also a corporate cat. So he was very, very big on tweeting and social media and stuff. So he went on a berserk strategy of tweeting to every known person he knew in the scene. I'm guessing half of them abused us also. But then he sent out a tweet to Raghu Dixit, who then tagged Vishal Dadlani in his retweet. And I kid you not, we were jumping our asses off when we saw that because we were like, ye kya ho raha hai? Right? Vishal Dadlani and the big names suddenly talking about what we did. But that wasn't the thing. 1 week later, I was right in I think it was 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. in the night, and I was scrolling through the spam section of our newly formed email ID of the Yellow Diary. I don't know why. But in that spam section, I found a mail by Vishal Dadlani, and he said, I really want to work with you. Luck as be it. I saw that, and my housemate at that point, my best friend, Tushar, we could not sleep because look at that. Look what just happened. But during my DSM time, there was this very cool thing that happened. KK was performing at SRCC Delhi, and I cried my eyes out that night because I wanted to do what he was doing. That was a dream. I wanted to wear that white shirt he was wearing, that brown jacket, the blue jeans, the brown shoes, and I wanted to be there. And I have dreamt that dream a few times in my life, I kid you not. And I think, to a certain degree, I've been just chasing these dreams. A few days later, I also went to Hard Rock Cafe in Delhi, and Farid Kot was playing, and they've been one of my favorite bands since a while. I remember going to NH7, which still is one of the biggest festivals in India, and I felt like I could dream all of this. I was dreaming all of this, and I remember this happened, and we were practicing, and we started rehearsing, and while we were rehearsing, I remember there was this one time. The restaurant started to fail, and so we were under a lot of losses. My mother was not doing well mentally; she was into depression because of all of this, and we were at a point where I could not really afford booking a flight ticket, going back to Delhi and coming back again, and doing that more often. So I stuck around, and a couple of days, it's heart-wrenching to hear your mom's voice crying on the phone and knowing that you can't really do anything right now because the best thing to do, the best way you can help them is just stay. So I did that. A couple of days later, my parents called me and they said, stay there, do what you're doing a good job. We'll handle everything, we've got it in control. I wrote a song called Rabraka at that time. It was literally about moving forward while knowing there is somebody, some force taking care of your people there. We got a call from Hard Rock Cafe somewhere in 2017. And I was super teary-eyed because it felt like the life had come full circle, and we went there to perform. And that night, I really cried, even after the performance. This was us practicing for the performance, and this was us at Hard Rock Cafe. So in 2018, NH7 called us to play an 8 p.m. slot on the second day. Early morning sound check, 7 a.m. We were there, we saw the stage. It was so big that I don't think we had any other thought beyond the stage itself. We were like, aaj hamare liye hi perform karna hai. This is enough. So we were like, even if we have 500 people in the audience, we are a success. So then the performance happened and we had about 4,000 plus people in the audience. And that should have been the success. But you know what the success was that night? we were performing, and during Muzz, because I had never heard myself on a big PA like that, I removed one of my earphones, and suddenly I heard people singing. I had no idea they were singing. I could see faces moving, but they were singing. And I heard them, and I could not sing a word. After that, I started crying, and I did cry. I broke down in the middle of the song. People sang for me, and then I had to come back and sing the rest of it. I will not forget that night. I think I'm going to take that to my grave with me. It's a dream that came true. After that, some really cool things happened, like a gig at this festival called Mood Indigo. We played to 8,000 plus people, and that was the biggest sea of people I had ever seen. But that wasn't the highlight that night. There were two headliners. It was the Yellow Diary, and it was KK. Life had come full circle again. But then post that, some really nice things happened to us, which is, I'm really thankful to life for that. I got the opportunity to write a song and then have the Shilpa Rao sing with me on that for the Yellow Diary. Then we performed at Lollapalooza's first edition in the country. It's one of the biggest festivals on the globe. Who thought that would happen? See, what happens is that there's a science experiment called the double slit experiment. And what it teaches you is that light has this property to it that when you observe it, it changes its behavior, its nature, its path. Which in a more philosophical way also means that life, as we see it, which is reflected light at its core, is being shaped and reshaped by our observation day in and day out. What I've understood by my experience is all you need to do is you need to stick it out. You need to stand your ground. You need to have the drive to not be diverted or distracted by anything that comes in your path. There's a song that we wrote back in the day. It's called Afzai. And it goes like, Ud chali ve dekh main chaliyan, ud chali ve dekh. Badalan te paar mein chaliyan, ud chali ve dekh. And I think that's the only thing that I want to tell my younger self, the boy who dreamt. Because now this boy dreams of going beyond the boundaries he's ever imagined. I want to belong to the global community. I want to belong to anybody, anywhere on the globe who relates to the things I express. I'm Rajan Batra. I'm a singer-songwriter and I front a band called the Yellow Diaries. Thank you.